Preview events and gameplay sessions are always fun. At the very least, you're getting hands-on time with a game that hasn't yet been released, but it's not very often that a week after the session, you're still thinking about how good it was. I have not been able to stop thinking about Scarlet Nexus since I played it early last week thanks to Bandai Namco Australia and EU. The last time I was this obsessed with a game after a preview session was way back in December 2016 when I previewed a little game called Nier Automata. Scarlet Nexus is just so much more than I ever thought it was going to be, because until I started digging a little deeper, I just assumed this was the Code Vein team having another go, but it's not that at all. The team on Scarlet Nexus, for all intents and purposes, is like an internal collaboration. It's not just the Code Vein team or the God Eater team, it actually brings together developers from the Tales series, God Eater series, Code Vein, and one of the teams that usually assists with external projects like Super Smash Bros. The senior positions reflect the collaborative team composition. The director is a Tales series veteran, the producer is Code Vein's producer, and the lead artist and designer comes from a God Eater background. My hope before I actually got my hands on it was that the makeup of this development team would mean they could deliver a game that didn't feel like it had something missing, that they could deliver something that, as a car salesman or character in a 1950s coming-of-age film might say, the complete package. I may have only played the first 3 hours of it so far, but I feel confident when I say that Scarlet Nexus is absolutely the complete package. It's hard to know where to start with this, so I guess we'll just start at the beginning. The new game screen immediately gave me big Tales of Exilia vibes. There are dual protagonists sitting side by side, and tabbing over to each of them gives you a short description of their character. Unlike Tales of Exilia though, these two protagonists do have significantly different stories. They cross paths in the story, so there will be some overlap, albeit from a different perspective, but they spend large parts of it completely separate on their own storylines. The boy is Yuito, who uses a sword as his main weapon, and the girl is Kasane, who uses, like magic throwing knives? That's kind of the best way to describe it. In the world of Scarlet Nexus, a substance in human brains was discovered which can give people extrasensory powers. Rapid technology advancements, spurred on by the invasion of mindless monsters known as Others, allowed the OSF, or Other Suppression Force, to interface with the substance and activate an individual's latent power. It would seem that people in this universe don't get to choose their power, which probably feels like a big time ripoff for some of the OSF members who are stuck with telepathic communication as their power when other people are running around shooting fire from their hands and hurling cars at enemies with their mind. But thankfully, no matter which protagonist you pick, their SAS power is psychokinesis, or in other words, hurling cars at enemies with your mind. That isn't the only power you get to use though. SAS links allow you to temporarily harness the powers possessed by other characters in your party. The combat is so good. I would normally start off describing a combat system by relating it to something else, or saying it's like the one in some other game, but there really isn't anything that I've personally played that feels like Scarlet Nexus. Not to say games like it don't exist, but if they do, I haven't played them. Psychokinesis is so well implemented, you straight up feel like Magneto, effortlessly throwing cars and other objects at enemies from long range or as part of a combo with your regular attacks. The objects themselves can have different behaviors as well. Sometimes they just fly straight into an enemy, while other times they'll whip around you as they get hurled forward. On a controller, this standard psychokinesis ability is activated by holding down a shoulder button, meaning you don't need to stop what you're doing. It's not like a thing you need to end a combo with. You can be absolutely wailing on the enemy with your sword, while at the same time throwing wreckage at it with your powers. SAS links add tons of variety. For example, you can link with a teammate to use his power of invisibility to run around and backstab an enemy's weak point, then use your own powers to drop a water silo on it before linking with another teammate to electrocute the now soaking wet enemy. Sometimes SAS links might be crucial, like when certain others cloud the area with smoke. You'll need to steal a teammate's clairvoyance to track down the culprit. I experienced at least 8 different unique powers that I can remember, and I don't think that was all of them. There was also a skill you could unlock that allowed you to use 2 SAS links at the same time, giving the system more depth as you progress further into the game. It looks like once you get past the first few chapters, you'll get more and more opportunities to decide who is in your party at any given time, so you will essentially be given control over which powers you want to have available to you. The powers you get from your teammates aren't set in stone either. They get upgrades and added effects as you increase your relationship level with them through bond events, most of which are optional. Which leads nicely into everything else they nailed in Scarlet Nexus. The story, characters and world building are all excellent. There's certain vibes you might pick up here and there. The way the OSF is structured into platoons and squadrons with a chain of command and all these very unique captains, leaders and characters felt a lot like early Attack on Titan, where you're learning about all the cadets and officers and the wonderful cast of characters as a whole. I wasn't prepared for just how anime the game was going to be, and I mean that in a good way. The balance between action, serious moments, and comedy is sublime. I played as Kasane for my session and mixed in with the whole beginnings of the story, like being a cadet, getting assigned to your first platoon, facing an other that has previously killed members of the OSF, etc. There's this whole storyline where your sister thinks a guy in another platoon is cute, so you want to check him out and put him through the ringer to make sure he's good enough for your sister. It's hilarious. I loved every second of it. The OSF aren't just like the military in this world, they're also kind of like celebrities. Media are always swarming around hoping to catch a glimpse of the more charismatic members, so while you're not actually physically fighting against media drones or news reporters in the street, you are sort of fighting against the implications of possibly becoming famous. It should mean the game is chock full of colourful characters and plenty of opportunities for a laugh. In terms of production value, presentation, and the look and feel of the game, Scarlet Nexus is up there with Persona 5 and Nier Automata in terms of how well the aesthetic is woven into everything, from the world and mechanics to the menus and user interface. Everything just feels so cohesive. The graphics and art style are gorgeous too. This B-roll footage provided by Bandai Namco doesn't fully do the game justice. My gameplay session was running on a PC and it was jaw-droppingly beautiful. The enemy designs are something special as well. They actually hired an amazing independent artist to design or inspire most of the enemies. Masakazu Yamashiro is known for his delightfully creepy art that blends living things with non-living things. It's the perfect aesthetic for the mindless monsters known as others. Honestly, I could probably sit here for the next 3 days just talking about what I experienced in the first 3 hours. I barely touched on things like the brain map, which is essentially the game's enormous skill tree, all of the characters I immediately fell in love with, the expansive outfit and cosmetic accessory system with most alternate outfits and attachments being unlocked in-game through crafting, all the varied bond events and the brain messages system, which adds even more layers to character building and the way they interact with each other. It just goes on and on. I got the distinct feeling that this is going to be a massive game. 3 hours is a very long time for a behind closed doors preview session. It really shows the devs are confident with what they've made and how substantial the full game is going to be if you need 3 hours just to get a taste of it. Scarlet Nexus has really taken me by surprise. I knew in my mind that I was going to play it at some point when I saw the first trailer. It just had the type of look that makes me want to give it a try. But it's gone from a yeah, I'll probably give it a go, to literally my most anticipated game this year, second only to Tales of Arise. I want to play more so bad, the fact that I don't know yet when I will be able to do that is almost causing me physical pain. Thankfully, for all of you, there is a playable demo on the way. All of the demo details will be in a separate video, which I'll have a link to in a pinned comment, so check that out, and while you're down there, be sure to drop any questions you might have, and I'll do my best to answer them if I can. Like, subscribe, you know the drill, and other than that, I'll see you all soon.